Today we're going to be making this super cute Christmas wreath on a pine base. Welcome to Stillwater's Wreath Designs. Come on in. Hello, my wreath making friends. Come on in. How are you? Today we are going to make a cute Christmas wreath. We're going to use the green monster theme. You know I can't say his name due to trademark reasons. And I have been looking forward to making this wreath all week. So welcome, welcome. Come on in. For those of you new to the channel, welcome to Stillwater's Wreath Designs. This channel is all about DIY wreath making and door swag making tutorials. So if you like that sort of thing, I'd love for you to hit the subscribe button and turn on your bell notifications so that you can create with us every week. And for my friends that have been here for a while, I so appreciate you. Thank you for coming back. So let's dive right into the fun stuff, guys. First of all, I will leave a full materials and tool list for you below in the description of this video, so that if you would like to recreate this beauty, you'll have a list of everything you'll need to do so. And of course, if you would just rather purchase the wreath that we're making in today's tutorial, I will leave a direct link for that for my Etsy shop below so that you can grab it. Okay, let's dive in. So we're going to build our wreath today on a 24-inch pine base. This actually came from Hobby Lobby. They've got their Christmas things on sale for 50% off. It seems like it's been every other week for the past several weeks. So definitely keep an eye out for that sale. You can also grab the supplies listed in this video from Amazon or online wreath making retailers. Wherever you get your pine base from, guys, the first thing you need to do is fluff this guy out. Even if you grab it from a store, it's always going to be, pretty squished and kind of a little worse for the wear. So when I say fluff it out, all we're really doing is loosening all of these pine ties and just standing them on a tension and making sure we've got some pointing towards the center of the wreath, some towards the outside of the wreath, and some straight up. Just fluffing these guys out all the way around our wreath base. All right, now that we've got our pine base all fluffed out, let's scoot this guy off to the side, and we're going to go ahead and start cutting some Deco mesh and getting it ready to load into our wreath base. So to make our base, we are going to use 3 different types of 10-inch Deco mesh. We're going to use a solid iridescent white. We're going to use the 10-inch lime green with this super cute red and white striping on either side. And then we're going to use this, it's kind of a glittery, metallic-y, shimmery, solid red. So it looks pretty solid as you see it here, but when I roll it out, guys, look how cute that is. It's almost like on a wedding. And when you're working with pine bases, it's hard to give you an exact number of how many pieces in total of the Deco mesh you're going to need, because it depends on how full your wreath is, how closely you put your cruffles together. So I typically start out with 18 pieces in total, and then if we need to add more in, we can sure do so. So I'm going to cut 6 pieces of the white, 6 pieces of the green, and 6 pieces of the red. Typically those cuts are between, 20 and 24 inches in length. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, I don't measure it. You're certainly welcome to, if you're new to wreath making or you need to be gentle with your supplies, I literally just pull my Deco piece, unroll it straight out in front of me so that my arm is at a 90-degree angle, and then I cut. And so let's just see how long this guy ended up being. Yep, it's right at 22 inches. And so that's just my preferred way to cut, guys. It's a lot faster for me. You can certainly measure it if you'd like to do so. But in any case, go ahead and cut 6 pieces of each of the colors for a total of 18 pieces, and we'll see how far that takes us. I'll meet you back here. Now that we've got our deco mesh cut, it's time to start loading this pine wreath base with Cruffles. If you are new to deco mesh loves to fray, and so anything we can do as a creator to help prevent that fray is always ideal. And the Cruffle is a great technique to help reduce that fray. And so to make a Cruffle, you're going to take one piece of your deco mesh that you've already cut. You're going to lay it in your workstation, curl side up. It likes to naturally roll in on itself, so curl side up. And what you're going to do on one end is just roll that end in 2 or 3 times to make a curl, which actually just tucks away that raw edge from where we've cut our deco mesh so that it doesn't fray. And then you're going to use a chip clip or a clothespin. I just grabbed these in a 10-pack from the Dollar Tree. Pinch that guy in the middle to hold it in place. Spin that deco mesh piece around. Do the same thing on the opposite end. Roll it in 2 or 3 times. And then we're going to ruffle the middle of the deco mesh to create our Cruffle. And so to do that, you're going to use your thumbs as your stationary placeholders and then your 8 fingers as your working fingers. And you're just gonna walk that mesh right back into your fingers until you reach the end. Remove your clip and pinch that guy together in the center, and you've just created your first Cruffle. And what the Cruffle really means is you have a curl on either end and then the ruffle in the middle, hence the Cruffle. And now we can add this guy into our wreath base. And we're going to use these pine ties to secure all of our deco mesh and attachments into our wreath base. And we're going to kind of just go haphazardly. I don't like to place all of my colors together. Of course, you want to sprinkle them throughout. And I always start in the middle. I'll add a single Cruffle. You're just going to find 2 neighboring pine ties. Add your Cruffle down to the base of those 2 neighboring pine ties, and then twist those ties together a couple, 2 or 3 tight twists, and you've just secured your first Cruffle. And we added that to the center, so now I'm going to grab a white piece of mesh, because remember, I want to alternate my colors. I'm going to roll my ends in a couple, 2 or 3 times. Secure that with my clip, flip that piece over, roll in the opposite end 2 or 3 times, and then scrunch and gather that mesh into my hands to make my second Cruffle. We'll come back to my base, and I started in the center with the green, so I'll take my next piece and come towards the outside. I'm going to find 2 neighboring pine ties, just like we did before. Stuff that Cruffle down to the base and give those pine ties 2 tight twists. We've just added our second Cruffle. Let's do one more together, and then we'll speed ahead. I'm going to scoot my base out of the way, lay my piece of mesh, curl side up, roll one end 2 or 3 times to make that curl, and secure it with my clip. Spin that piece around and do the same thing to the opposite end. And then we're going to scrunch and gather to make that Cruffle, just like so. So we'll come back to our pine wreath base. So we did center, outside, and now we'll come to the inside. As you can see, we're just kind of staggering our deco mesh. I'm going to put it at the base of 2 close pine ties, give it a couple of tight twists, and we've just added our third Cruffle. We're going to continue to follow this pattern all the way around. So you'll want to add 1 towards the center, 1 towards the outside, 1 towards the inside, 1 towards the center, 1 towards the outside, 1 towards the inside. And just make sure that you're not placing the same color of mesh side by side, but beyond that, you know, just disperse them evenly all the way around your wreath base. And remember, we just kind of guessed at how many pieces we would need based on how closely I'm tucking those deco mesh pieces in. So if you need to cut more pieces, feel free to do so. Let's go ahead and load our base with our Cruffles, and I'll meet you back here. All right, now we've got our pine base fully loaded with our Cruffles. I did end up needing to cut 6 additional pieces. So in total, I used 24 pieces of the deco mesh, but look how stinking cute this is coming together already. And so just by adding that deco mesh into our wreath base, we've just taken this guy from a 24-inch in diameter wreath base to a 36-inch in diameter wreath base. How stinking cute. And so what I want you to do at this point, friends, I know this sounds a little bit strange, but trust me on this. Now that we've loaded our round wreath base with our deco mesh, I want you to give it a squish. Now, depending on the strength of your wreath, you might have to put some oomph into this, but I typically just turn it on its side. It's probably gonna look a little wonky in our camera view here, and I just gently give it some pushes. I don't want it to be a super elongated oval, but as you can see from the back, just a gentle oval. And I like to do this because it makes the wreath fit a little bit more elegantly and just look better placed on our customers' doors or our door when it's got a little bit more of an oval shape. So the next thing we're going to do is scoot our wreath base off to the side for just a minute. And we're going to use 2 of these Lollipop picks. These also came from Hobby Lobby, although again, you can grab them from Amazon or any online retailer. This particular pack or set came in a pack of 2 from the Christmas shop at Hobby Lobby. I'm just gonna take these guys off here. And as you can see, they're both red and white. This is predominantly red, and this one is predominantly white. And they're really glittery. I'm not sure if the camera is capturing that. But I'm gonna go ahead and cut off those ties because we don't need those. And so this is what they look like, guys. They are 6 inches in diameter and probably 1 inch to 1.25 inches thick. So we're going to use those. Our glue gun is heated up. And I found this super cute feather boa on Amazon that I thought would be a really nice way for us to embellish our lollipops to give them that extra Christmas green monster vibe. So I'm just going to cut off this tail here. And I'm going to start at the base, and we're going to wrap a single layer of this green fur boa right around our lollipop. And so I'm just going to squeeze a generous amount of glue, and I'm going to do it in 3 or 4 inch increments so that glue doesn't dry on me. So I'm just going to use my fingertip here and press that guy down for about 10 seconds or so and let it really get a nice grab. And we're going to do this all the way around. As you get to the end here, just eyeball where you want that piece to fall and then cut it off before you glue that last little bit in. That way you don't pull it undone as you're working with it. And we'll run this last bit of glue on the lollipop and get this guy secured down. And then the last thing I like to do, friends, it doesn't matter what store I get the lollipops from, I like to go ahead and just run a little bit of glue right where that lollipop stick meets the lollipop and just give it an extra dollop to make sure that guy's not going to go anywhere in the future. But how stinking cute is that? All right, guys, I've got our second lollipop adorned with that cute green boa. I'll set these off to the side to dry and we'll move on to the next step. So go ahead and bring your wreath base back to your work area, and the next thing we're going to do is add this super cute sign. How adorable is that? Friends, I actually ordered this specifically from a vendor on Etsy. I did order extra of these signs. I will link them below. So if you need one, if you'd like to recreate this and you'd like to order this specific sign, you can sure do so. It's just a real lightweight, thin metal, as you can see. It's weather resistant, and you can use a drill, a very small drill bit, to drill holes on the side, or you can use a jewelry punch press. Kind of works like a hole punch. It just gives you a nice, clean, teeny tiny hole for some floral wire to run through to attach this guy down into our base. See if you can even see that, guys. It's teeny, teeny, tiny. Again, I'll link these for you below as well. We're going to use two 16-inch thin gauge floral wire stems to attach this sign down into our base. So I'm going to fold this stem in half. Not looking for perfection here, guys. Just trying to identify that center point. And then I'm going to run this floral stem right through the holes that we just made. And once I get it centered on the back side, I'm just going to give it a gentle twist or two just to keep that from sliding around. And then we're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. So at this point, your wreath does not have a top or bottom. So you would want to choose how you would like your wreath base to lay. Of course, you could add your sign anywhere, guys. This is just a recipe to give you some great ideas. So certainly make adjustments as you'd like. I'm going to add mine right in the center. You could put it at the bottom, at the top, off to the side, you know, whatever suits your wishes best. I'm going to put mine right in the center. You'll just run those floral stems right down through the base of your wreath base here. And we're going to do one at a time. I'm going to hold it in place and flip it over. And you want to make sure that your floral wire stems are around at least one ring of your pine base. I just gave it a couple of loose twists. I want to make sure it didn't shift on me, and it didn't. And so now we can add it to the second side. Going to make sure that those stems, again, are wrapping around at least one of the metal rings on our pine base. I'm just giving it a couple of loose twists. I want to make sure I'm really happy with that placement, and I am. So I'm going to just flip that guy back over. I'll give those floral wire stems 2 or 3 tight twists. Now you want to make sure the tension isn't too taut because you don't want that sign to sink down into your wreath. And then once you've got that mounted nicely, go ahead and take some small wire snips and trim off the excess bits of those floral wire stems and toss them away. And I'm just going to take my small needle nose pliers. I'm going to pinch those ends together and kind of curl them back into the wreath. That way, if we or our customer grab this beauty, we don't get poked. Perfect. And last but not least, I like to run just a couple of lines of glue, about 1 inch worth, right over those floral wire stems to keep them nice and smooth. We'll give that about 30 seconds to dry, and then we'll flip it back over and continue on with our design. Now that that glue's had a chance to dry, we'll flip our design back over. Look how stinking cute it is, guys. So I'm just going to take a minute here and make sure that all those pieces that got tucked away while we were adding our sign get pulled back out and get that visibility we want them to have. All right, so we've got our sign secure. Let's go ahead and make a bow. So I'm going to actually make a bow to add to the upper left-hand corner, and then we'll make some tails for the bottom right-hand corner. And I'm going to use a 2.5 inch Christmas monster feet with glitter. a 1.5-inch coordinating red, green, and white polka dot, and a little bit of leftover red, white, and green ribbon that I had from a previous project. I typically like to use 3 to 4 different ribbon types, and I like to mix up the widths. So I usually start out with a 2.5-inch base and then add the 1.5 to the front. You can certainly use whatever ribbon you like. Just make sure that it's wired so that it maintains your shape. And for this particular bow, guys, I'm just going to make a quick hand bow. I'm not going to really measure my tails or my loops. I would expect my tails will be probably 8 to 10 inches in length for this first bow, and my loops will probably be 6. So bear with me real quickly here while we make our bow. All right, guys, I've just finished my bow. I've got 4 loops of the green monster feet, and I've got 2 loops of the polka dot and just a button loop here with this red and white, and of course some tails. I don't typically fluff my bow out until I get it added into my wreath, but that's just a personal preference. You could certainly, add it in as you would like. And I've just secured it with a couple of extra long red pipe cleaners that I've married together. So I'm just going to run those pipe cleaners right through my wreath base. And I'm going to give it a single twist or 2 here. Just make sure that guy is where I want it. And it is. And then I'll flip it back over and give those pipe cleaners 3 or 4 tight twists at about 80% tension to make sure it's nice and secure. And then I'll trim off those excess bits of pipe cleaner. I'm going to fold that little tail under with my finger and just add a little dollop of glue right where that pipe cleaner meets our wreath base, and we'll give it a second to dry. All right, guys, now that that glue has dried, let's flip our wreath back over and fluff out our bow. And so I always like to start at the bottom and work with that lower level first. And remember, we've got 4 loops of the 2.5-inch wide. Just going to open them up with my hand and make them into an X pattern. And I've got my tails just kind of laying here for now. I'm going to open up the 2 polka dotted, and they're just going to go straight across, so they're almost in between that X, if you can see that. And then I'm going to round out that button right in the middle. Then I'm going to grab my scissors, and we're going to dovetail these ends. And I'm not real sure yet, guys, what I want to do with these tails. So I'm going to dovetail them and just see how they look. And then we'll tweak them as we need. But to dovetail your tails, a couple things. First of all, always cut off less than what you think you want to, because you can always, take more ribbon off if you need to, but you can't put it back on. So that's my first bit of advice. And to dovetail, you're going to fold that ribbon onto itself like so, and then on the folded side, not the open side, I'm going to dovetail these. So I'm going to come down about 1.25 inches and cut up diagonally. And then when you open that up, you've got that pretty V-shaped. And I'm going to do that to all of my tails, guys. All right, I've trimmed off those ends and dovetailed them nicely. And so now we're gonna play around with these tails for just a few minutes, guys, and then we're gonna let them sit and we'll come back to them. Because like I said, I'm feeling a little undecided on how I'd like to leave them. So they're obviously too long to lay flat, so I think I'm gonna curl them. And if you've never curled wired ribbon, it's super easy and a very cute effect. I just use a leftover cardboard tube from the center of a roll of 10-inch Deco mesh that I've used up, and I keep this in my little toolbox here. And ladies, it's kind of like a curling iron. You just literally wrap that ribbon right around that tube, like so, and then you pull it out. And again, I may change my mind on what I want to do with these, but I'm a little undecided. So I'm just going to play around for a few, and then we'll come back to this. See how that makes that nice curl? And then once you've curled it and release it, you can just take your fingers and pull on it a little bit to give it that curvature that you like, as tightly or as loosely as you'd like to see it. And I also want to add some tails to the bottom right. So to add those tails, I'm just going to take some of each of the 3 ribbon types, and I don't like them to hang more than necessary over the side of our wreath, but I do want to give it a curl. So I'm going to give it a couple of extra inches. So I'm going to say that those tails are probably 10 inches in length. And I want my green polka dotted to be a little bit shorter by a couple of inches or so on each end. And then of course that red is even shorter yet because I'm using up a bit of scrap. So I'm just going to lay one piece of ribbon right on top of the other and kind of center that as I go. Not looking for perfection, guys. Nobody's going to be measuring. And then I'm going to fold this entire stack in half just to identify this halfway point right here at the V. And then I'm going to pinch and pleat my fingers and pull that into a loose V over my fingertips. And then on my wreath frame, if this were a clock, at between 4 and 5 o'clock, I'm going to find a couple of neighboring pine ties, kind of closer towards the sign here. And I'm going to secure that guy down by giving it 3 or 4 tight twists once I've placed him in our ties. There we go. Now I'm going to dovetail my ends and curl them again. And again, we're still undecided about our ribbon here. So we may come back through and trim them up again and go a different route. But for now, that's kind of how I'm leaning. So trim your ends and give them a good curl. And I'll meet you back here. All right, now it's time to add some embellishments into our wreath. So it's time to dress this guy up. Hopefully your glue gun is still plugged in and heated up. And our furry green lollipops now are totally dry and ready to add in. So we're going to add these 2 guys in. And then I also have a container of 4 shatterproof. You always want to use shatterproof when making wreaths or door swags. Christmas ornaments that match this guy perfectly with the polka dots, and so we're going to add them in as well. Let's add our lollipops in first. You're going to want to cut about half that stem off. You only need a couple, 2 or 3 inches of that lollipop stem to anchor this guy down. The rest of it's just going to stick out the back, and we don't want that. So let's trim these guys down first. They're just plastic, so it's real easy trim. And I always like to dry place my pieces first, guys, and then commit to them with the glue. I'm going to add this actually up here right beside our neighboring one, because I just feel like I want to shift up my ideas a little bit with those Christmas balls. I'm going to nestle that guy in nice and tight and give it a solid hold for about 30 seconds. How stinking cute. So these ornaments are pretty big. They're actually about 4 inches in diameter. I think we're going to use all 4, so I'm going to pull all 4 out. Looks like we've got 2 red, 1 green, 1 white. And so you just want to kind of nestle them in different places. Not necessarily all on one side or the other. go ahead and pull off that little nub. It may unscrew, it may not. If it doesn't come off easily, just go ahead and glue around it. Run your glue right around that nub and on top of it, about the size of a quarter, and then just nestle that guy right down in and hold it for about 30 seconds to give it a nice good grab. All right, guys, our ornaments are added. Our lollipops are added. I'm definitely happy with the curled bow tails. Might have to trim this one up a little bit. Let's see. Or run it off to the opposite side. I think that's what we'll do. That is so stinking cute. And this beauty is finished, friends. I hope you had fun creating with me today. If you did, be sure to give this video a thumbs up. It really helps my little channel to grow. And be sure to hit that subscribe button. Thanks, friends. Happy crafting.